Hi there, this is Craig Hain. My students call me Dr. Dell, and I want to talk to you about our foundation course. This is Tier 1 and Tier 2 of a 10-tier program, and this is what I consider the foundation course that everybody starts with. I call it High School Math Made Easy, and this is really all about practical math that you will need if you go on into tech school and into that sort of thing. Now, it's prerequisite for the upper tiers too, which I will talk about other places. This includes the topics of pre-algebra, algebra, geometry, and trigonometry, plus how to use a scientific calculator. And we use the Texas Instruments 30XA calculator throughout this course. And we start out by teaching the students how to use it because it's the power tool they're going to use. And this course takes most students about 40 hours to go through from start to finish. Now, if students already have some background and know some things, they might do it in 20 or 30 hours. Some students might take 50 or 60. It doesn't matter. It is self-paced. And let me tell you what is in it in particular. The very first thing that we'll talk about is just the general sections. The Tier 1 consists, first of all, of learning how to use a scientific calculator. And then there's a pre-algebra, which is sort of an arithmetic review. This course is really aimed at students that are post-elementary. They understand the number system fairly well. They know about addition and multiplication and fractions and things like that, and they probably know more than that. They probably know a little algebra. They know about square roots and squares, maybe, although we teach them that. And then after they go through this, which is pretty quick really, then we have algebra and geometry and trigonometry, 3 sections on that. And the whole idea is to achieve 3 goals. And the first goal is we want the student to develop a positive attitude towards math and to lose any fear of math. That is a #1 problem today that we have with many, many students that are dropping out of math. And I'm assuming if you're watching this video that you may know a student that's in this condition and would like to help that student. Now, what are we going to do then to achieve that? Well, you'll see how we're going to do it. If you studied the Effective Math Education Triad, you'll see why we're going to do what we're going to do. But the real purpose, the #1 purpose of this foundation is that very thing before they go into the upper tiers. Now, what's the student going to learn? Well, they're going to learn the mathematics that is necessary to solve most practical everyday problems that occur in what I call the ordinary real world. These are things that I've learned from teaching adults for over 30 years in a wide variety of fields, electronics and hydraulics and plumbing and landscaping and just on and on. And this is common math that's used over and over in all of these various fields. Mathematics sort of it underlies all of this. And so this foundation is a really good preparation for a technical career. So if you have a student that's going to become an electrician or a plumber or a landscaper or what have you, this will be a good course for them. This is also going to provide a good solid foundation for students that want to proceed on in their math studies if they would wish to go beyond the most practical math and prepare for what's called a STEM career, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, I want to do a couple things. First of all, let me review a little more detail the table of contents with you. And so I'm going to go to here. I'm blowing this up actually so it'll show a little better on this camera. This is the desk that I use when I do ordinary kitchen table math, I call it, where I'm teaching people. And we start off with the calculator, how to use it. And there are 12 lessons with the calculator. Now, I'm going to explain what these lessons are in a moment, but each lesson consists of a video and notes and then problems to do, what I'll talk about in a minute. But there are 12 lessons. And basically, if a student learns to do these 12 different things with this calculator, they're going to be prepared then to do the things they need to do. Does this teach everything about this calculator? Absolutely not. There's a lot of things on this calculator you'll never need to use in practical math, and so I don't teach them. This is not intended to be a training program on this calculator per se, but rather on how to use this calculator as a power tool. Now, why did I choose this calculator? Well, it's very easy to use. It's not very expensive. It's less than $10 usually. And it just does the things that you need to do in practical math. I like the layout of the keys. It's just very easy to use. And I evaluated about a dozen calculators and chose this one. I do have some additional things that we covered that they'll need in trig. So really, I said 12 lessons. There's 16 altogether. We won't be teaching them trig at this level, but we'll show them how to use the keys so they're getting familiar with them. Then we have a section on pre-algebra. I didn't used to do this in this, I used to call this a boot camp, and I added this because I want to be sure that the students really are ready to do all of the things they need to do with arithmetic. And so this is a pre-algebra thing, and it involves making sure they understand addition and multiplication and what's the distributive law and how does it work and how do fractions work, and some of the special keys we use like the square and the reciprocal and so on. And so there are lessons on that. And then we'll have algebra lessons. Now, algebra is a basic thing that you use as a tool to solve lots of math problems. Rarely is it sufficient, but it's usually necessary when you're solving problems. And so I have 10 lessons on algebra. I actually have 4 optional lessons for some people, but mostly these 10 lessons. And if you learn to do these 10 things, this is the algebra you use in practical everyday math. Of course, I start out by teaching you the principles of algebra and how it really works. I call it about the rule of algebra, and then I give you these examples. And of course, I'll get to that in a moment and how we actually deliver the lessons. Then I have geometry. And by the way, you can download this syllabus from our website, so you don't have to be writing any of this down. You can download it. I want you to use it. In fact, if you're a teacher and you want to try to do what I'm doing on your own, then you can use this as sort of a very rough outline lesson plan. But I have altogether 19 lessons on geometry. There's a 20th that's an optional one. And again, I talk about the things in geometry you need to do ordinary everyday problems. And then we have our final section of trigonometry, and there are 7 lessons on trig. I have an optional one at the end, and these 7 lessons will let you basically do everything you need to do with trig to solve triangle problems, which is what come up in everyday practical math. Now, all of these subjects are much larger than what I do in the foundation, needless to say. This just teaches you the things you need for practical math. And in fact, elsewhere in this training and in the book that I've talked about, the Teaching Math book, we talk about the whole 10 tiers. This is the first 2 tiers. And so I'm not pretending this covers all the math that they would ever need, but what they need for getting started and to set a foundation. Now I'd like to show you how the thing works, actually. So let me go back to the notebook. Now the facts of the matter are, I'm going to be combining these 2 books here into one, so it won't be quite done the way this is done. I did this originally. This is the notebook, and every one of those lessons I mentioned has a lesson and has a set of notes for us. So I'm just going to turn well, I picked one out. I'm going to go to the one on similar triangles, which was G6, if you remember the table of contents. And in G6, this is the notes that I use in a video. Now the videos are self-paced in the sense that the student can pause them and go back and review them and back up and so on. And this is so the student doesn't have to take notes. The student can watch the video, and a lot of the things I'm telling them in the video occur here. And then usually not only do I discuss whatever the topic is, but I give them some sample problems. And sometimes that's done on the next page. This is still all part of the video, and I give them sample problems on how to do these things. These videos will run anywhere from 5 minutes to maybe 15 minutes max. Most of them will run 10, 11 minutes, particularly when I'm doing some sample problems. Once they have watched that video, at least once and maybe 2 or 3 times if they feel the need to, and they think they kind of understand what I've told them and the sample problems I've done, then they go to the exercises. Now, in the new book, that'll just follow right on the next page, but right now I've got them in 2 separate books. And the way this works is now, that was G6 was the lesson, so this is G6E, which is the exercises, and I give them exercises, problems to do. And so there they are. There's 8 problems, and I ask them different things. And if they understood the video, they understood the notes and what I talked about, they should be able to do these homework problems without any real problem. However, just to be sure that they're understanding and that they've done them right, then we will also have another page that's called G6EA, which is the answers to the problems. So here's the same problems, but with all the answers in. So they not only do the problems, but they know exactly how they do them. And sometimes I have to explain to them just what I've done to get the solution. So that's how that works. Now, once they take the lesson, they watch the video, They do the homework problems. Then there's a quiz, an online quiz, where they go, and it's a 3-question quiz always, and they answer the 3 questions. And if they get them right, then we will assume that they have learned that material adequately, and they can move on. And then they just go through this step by step by step. Now, as I've explained elsewhere, learning math is a little like climbing a ladder. You need to do it one step at a time, and you don't want to skip steps. So it's very important that you have the student go through these topics sequentially and not try to jump around. Because very often a topic later on will require something that came earlier, and if they miss the earlier, then they're confused and lost. And so we do it in this order for this reason. They really need to do the algebra before they do the geometry. Why is that? Because we use the algebra often in the geometry. In fact, when you solve practical math problems, usually you're using a combination of geometry and algebra. So the real guts of the course is algebra and geometry. However, it turns out that there are certain practical problems, particularly involving triangles, that you simply cannot solve with just algebra and geometry, and that is why you need trigonometry. And you need trigonometry at a very basic level. Thanks to the power tool of the calculator, you can solve trig problems very easily. If you have bought my book and read it, then there are 6 interludes, and several of them deal with examples of problems and how we teach them to solve them in this course. And so there's no reason for you not to. In fact, if you're not sure about what I've said about this foundation course, about whether it's right for you, you really ought to buy the book that there's another tab that talks about my book, Teaching Math, and you should really buy that first. If you have a Kindle, you can buy the Kindle version of it. It's very inexpensive, and you can read it and decide, hey, is this kind of what he's talking about? Do I agree with him or not? And if I do, then I should try the foundation. This much I will tell you. The foundation course will essentially cause your student to be very, very successful. This is a promise I put on the book back cover, but it would apply to this foundation course. If you learn and practice what you're going to learn in this foundation course, then you'll be able to provide your students with a very excellent high school math education. In other words, if they go through this, you don't have to go through it. If they go through it, they're going to get a good foundation. And because of modern technology, you're able to provide your students with this excellent math education. Well, the modern technology is the internet, and it's the fact that I'm giving them videos via the internet. That when you buy the foundation course, you're really buying not a book, you're buying the videos. The real meat of all this is the videos. I don't want to sell this as a standalone textbook because it's not for self-study. It really is to accompany the videos, which explains. So in other words, I'm the teacher, if you want to call it that, that teaches them the material on the videos, and then they've got their notes and they've got their exercises to do. So that's what this foundation course is about. Your student will get an excellent background for future math studies, or if they don't want to go on into college, if they want to become have a technical career, they'll have an excellent background for that. So this is Dr. Dell signing off. I hope that makes it clear what this is all about, and I hope that if you do have students who are struggling with their math education at the high school level, you will get them into this foundation course ASAP, and I think you'll be amazed at the psychological transformation as well as how much they'll learn. Unless you are a really highly educated mathematician, they'll learn things that you don't know, and in fact, you might want to learn along with them because it is very, very interesting. So Dr. Dell signing off, and I hope that I wish you the best with your students in the future. Bye-bye.